This Pokemon was at first a sucker to play with in Sword and Shield and even in Showdown. I spent a lot of hours with Roserade trying to do well with it. Wait, that sounds a little wrong. I'm sorry, hold on! Welcome to another Pokemon guide with this time Roserade, codename Masquerade. Now, as I said before, this Pokemon has been a sucker to play with. I did win a good bit of battles thanks to it, in multiple fashions. However, I am no expert in Pokemon, but I am showing my own experiences and to show what has worked out for me, and in this guide I hope it does the same for you. And for sure, Roserade can be played very differently in two kinds of ways which can be very killer. One of them can be the Spikes build, as I've seen do a lot of damage, but also the offensive type build, which is a little bit nerfed in this generation in my opinion. However, I challenged myself for the offensive type build since I wanted a good alternative to the Spikes build. Now, let's get a move on. Roserade is weak against Flying, Fire, Psychic, Ice, but Roserade also resists Fighting, Water, Grass, Electric, and Fairy. Side note though, Poison resists Fighting but isn't super effective move-wise. Same with Grass to Electric. Based on Smogon, she is categorized as UU, but I found success as OU as Roserade as well, so you're okay to do whatever you wish with Roserade within those tiers. Now her first three stats, they're very disappointing. With 60 health points, 70 attack, which really doesn't matter, and 55 defense. Mainly the 55 defense being the crippling moment for Roserade. However, Roserade does have a whopping stat of 125 special attack, which is very good, and even higher than Sylveon in my last video. She also has a pretty good special defense at 105, and a meh speed of 90, which can outspeed some threats like a specific one later in the video, which I'll explain. As for the item, any item that boosts their special attack will be just fine. Wise Glasses or Life Orb, whatever your choice is, depending if you want to sacrifice your health for more of a multiplier. These items can help her hit a lot better with these items on hand. If you're running a Focus Sash, that is also okay since she isn't exactly bulky. Now for your ability, I think Natural Cure would be your best bet. It would have been Technician if Hidden Power was still here in Generation 8, but since that's no longer here, Natural Cure will probably be your best bet. With Natural Cure, you can switch out with any major status conditions to get rid of them, which will come in handy for when the situation will come. Now for moves. Once again, this is a little harder to choose because Hidden Power is not here, and we can't pair that with a Technician ability. Therefore, we must look elsewhere. Now for your first move, I'd recommend Petal Dance or Leaf Storm. It is your choice here. I specifically went for Petal Dance since I don't want to lower my special attack and rather stay in and to keep hitting Petal Dance another 2 or 3 turns. Next up would be Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb is probably the best stab move for Roserade since it hurts pretty darn good against her type advantages with it. Now for those last 2 move slots, I would suggest Dazzling Gleam, Extrasensory, or Shadow Ball. These moves are basically for coverage and can be switched out for one or the other. It's pretty much your choice here. The opponent will not expect these in a good handful of matchups and will get punished pretty well for it. Also, it saved my butt a whole lot of times. Next up on the list is your nature. And there's only one nature that you should probably pick. That is Timid. You're going to need that percentage boost in speed to have, otherwise you're going to make the battle using it a lot harder. Now for my favorite, EVs. For sure doing max speed and special attack and whatever your 4 EVs left you want to put in is a very good choice. Doing that will make a good bit of your life easier if you outspeed and are always getting the 1-hit KO or the 2-hit KO, when you especially go first. Sadly, that can't be all the time. For me, I got a little cuckoo and decided to not go that route, but instead try to sustain at least 2 turns somehow, physically and specially. Now at this time, do not need to listen to me at this time. You can skip to here for my best tips for using Roserade like this, unless you're curious on what this idiot did or are following, in which case, This worked in my favor when playing, so good luck! First up is your Speed Eevee. In my mind, Roserade's main threats in her types that she's weak against has to have a speed number that's close, but not over the speed number of Roserade. Now the closest threat that was around that number was a Rotom Heat. It might seem a little silly hearing that, but Rotom Heat's Overheat move will destroy you if I'm not first, and I consider that a major threat, and I want to outspeed it so I can at least stay in to do the damage if I needed to, and the next Pokemon could kill it if I died. Now, there's an amazing website about distributing EVs to use if you like custom EV slots below like me. In there is an equation that I must fulfill to decide what speed is optimal against a Rotom Heat. Yeah, I used math. I'm sorry. Now the formula goes something like this. EVs equals 252 minus the product of P minus 0 minus 1 multiplying by 4. P accounts for my Pokemon's max speed and O being the opponent's. But there's a slightly different formula if you have a speeding item and or nature. You just divide the opponent's speed by 1.1 for any speed increased nature, and or divide 1.5 for the speed increasing item. For me, I only have a nature, so I made the equation which looks like this. Afterwards, you have 252 minus a value, in which case it's this now. Then subtract, and 208 is the amount of EVs of speed I will put on Roserade to outspeed at least a Rotom Heat and any Pokemon under that. Alright, now for the slightly easier stuff. Defense would be 172. Doing that gives me a better chance of living if I'm not doing 252 speed, and also physical moves won't be as bad as a problem as it's close to the base stat of special defense, which I also decided to leave alone. Next, for special attack, 108 EVs is the option to go for me. As with the help with the Wise Glasses or Life Orb, which once again is your choice, it will take down super effective matchups in 1 or 2 hits most of the time. Now for the rest of those EVs, put them in health, as anything will count to make sure Roserade lives another day. Also, some bulk is always nice. Now, here are some takeaways. Roserade is best during the middle or end of the game. She can really clean up the battle and punish who is left on the opponent's team. Hopefully, your team itself is doing the heavy lifting for Roserade for her to take them out. Second, know Roserade's speed and an idea of the opponent. If you don't outspeed the opponent, well, you're screwed. Unless you can take the hit. Now, preferably this would be special defense, but if you have 172 EVs in defense, you have a better chance of living. Within most situations, I recommend switching out to a Pokemon that's safe to take hit. Whether that is a tank, a special wall, or defense wall, doesn't matter. Running into this problem will be a absolute obstacle for Roserade if it is not cleared. To help with the speeding issue, you can also run a Pokemon with a sticky web, which makes speeding Pokemon a lot easier for Roserade, and it can thrive under that situation very well. You can also have a Pokemon that has spikes and or a Stealth Rock. For me, a Skarmory works very well under this situation, as it's defensively bulky and could potentially stack 3 spikes and a Stealth Rock because of it. The damage from this makes an absolute difference, and you can one-shot Pokemon a lot easier this way as well. As for the third point, this is the most hardest one to do, but if you can pull it off, it will be it will feel so darn good. And that is mind games, predictions, and more mind games. Doing this allows Roserade to have an easier road ahead of it, which makes using it a heck of a lot easier. Whenever you're playing with a team, use a Pokemon's move that will be super effective, or do massive damage on the Pokemon you predict will be switched in if they even do. If this works out for you, you could kill or do massive damage on the Pokemon if it works. This is rather very helpful for Roserade, as she can clean up the battle in the end as said before. For example, in this situation, 2 Pokemon are left against Roserade, Mienshao and Palossand. I scored a super effective hit on Mienshao with Dazzling Gleam when she didn't expect it, even though it should have been dead, but it had a Focus Sash, so you're right. I made the choice with Petal Dance as my next move instead of another Dazzling Gleam, as I think Palossand is coming in, and I was thinking my opponent would U-turn into Palossand, since she had been prioritizing U-turn all throughout the dang battle. Now I was willing to take the risk because there really weren't one. Mostly because Mienshao was already faster than me, and a U-turn could potentially kill me, so I was like, why not Petal Dance it, and hopefully Palisand is in here. Plus if I died, I still had Pokemon left that I had at least some hope to win. Whether that was small or big. A mistake by the opponent for thinking switching in was a good idea and not staying in to finish me off, since Mienshao anyways was faster. Also, I can thank for a little bit of luck in there, thanks to my EVs on defense and 20 on health for surviving U-turn. But you can always count on mind games and predictions for what's happening. Maybe something good will happen as a result, who knows. Now for the next point, Roserade is very frail, 90% of the time. Sometimes you get lucky, but if it's a super effective move on Roserade, it's most likely dead. So be very careful of your matchups, even if you have a move that is super effective of that type that it's weak against. That is why a Focus Sash is also reasonable as an item. Now for the next point, you might want to get a little closer for this one. Can you hear me? You might want to get in a little closer than that. You hear me? Good. You might want to hit super effective. I know that sounds a little stupid, but that's your main tactic. Roserade will best dish out damage that way. If she doesn't, either you hope you can 2-shot the Pokemon and outspeed, or tank more than 2 shots, which is a little bit unlikely. However, you can always depend on the foolish mistake of an opponent, and take advantage of it like the clip before I've shown you. Overall, although this specific gen sort of knocks Roserade offensively, you can still pull some surprises and do some real damage in your team if you can handle her speed problem and her defense problem. Once again, you can use these Pokemon however you wish, but it will depend on how effective they are based on their stats, but also how well you use them. And that is my Roserade guide. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a like, comment on another Pokemon you'd like to see, subscribe, and all that jibba jabba, my kings and queens. And I will see you soon. Roserade, Roserade, Roserade's the masquerade. Aha.
You're fine, so fine. But the question is, what will it take to make you mine? Where have you been for all this time? I question myself, how come this beautiful thing ain't mine?